Welcome back to Sampstra Games, the place to find new strategy games, and welcome to my guide for Unity of Command 2, the Stalingrad DLC. So, what do they want from us? Well, you start off by actually already having control of Kharkov, Slavinsk, Belgorod, and Krasnograd. But you still need to get Izium by turn 4. You need to crush enemy offensive, so you need to take 25%. That one's easy, you don't have to worry about that one whatsoever. Then you need to take Barvenkovo, and finally you need to take Kupiansk by turn 6. Now, this mission is kind of interesting because the enemy kind of out of supplies themselves, but also does a lot of damage. So the enemy tends to move this way towards Krasnograd, and they'll end up with their forces kind of around here under these two main supply lines. And their supply hubs that they have here, they do not have that range. So some of the sort of outer units of the enemy will end up out of supply that are over here, which is quite useful for you. But what you need to do here is you need to outsupply the majority of their forces. They get their supply from here and from here. Now, the main thing you want to do is you want to take your army and you want to move somebody here specifically onto this hex and then move on further this way or this way down to block out the supply of majority of their forces. Now, once you do that, you will actually not immediately outsupply them because they get supply from here. Now, as for this right side, you can get a couple of options. You can either move some of your units here onto the supply railway. This is doable, but it can be difficult because there are a lot of enemy units here, and if they tend to sort of focus on you, the idea will be that you will step a unit there, they will kill the unit or make it retreat, and then you have to do it again next turn to keep them out of supply. So that can be a bit difficult. An alternative, what you want to do is once you take over Barvenkovo, you will gain a card that will allow you to bomb supply hubs or bridges. So you want to bomb either this or this bridge. And once you sort of bomb both of these bridges and also take over the supply hub from the top, their supply will not go further. They will be out of supply. And then a couple turns later, you do want to move your units here because they won't be so strong to defend themselves anymore. So make sure you don't blow up the bridges too soon though, because then they can just easily repair them. Now, you need to hold your units. You need to hold Krasnograd. Now, you need to hold Krasnograd only from turn 4, so don't be worried if they take it over from you on turn 2 or 3. You can keep it then in control later. Now, Izium is interesting because Izium is covered by water from most directions, so your best attacks will be from these hexes. So you want to make sure that you push there quickly enough. You can take Barvenkovo around turn 2 or 3, and around turn 3 you want to be, or sometimes even turn 1. It depends on how quickly you want to push. But around turn 3 you do want to make sure that you have a couple of units around here so that you will be able to take over Izium. You might also be able to get near Izium from the top, but it's not that likely. Another thing you need to keep in mind, you cannot lose Slaviansk at any point. So the unit that on Slaviansk keeps a strong unit there, entrench the unit there. Sometimes what I did in my test games, I took a different unit and used the feint attack on some of these units here just to suppress them a little bit so they won't have that strength and be able to take over Slaviansk for you. Now finally, by turn 4, you need to take control of Krasnograd and hold it. So just make sure that the enemy will be strongly out of supply by turn 4, so you can always take it back. If they take it from you, just take it back, then they might take it again. Then by turn 4, you need to take it and then you need to hold it. So you need to keep a strong unit there. And when it comes to Kupiansk, you need to take it over by turn 6. By that time, you should have a couple of units that are moving from the top and a couple of units that are moving from here, and the enemy should be strongly out of supply, so it should be a walk in the park by turn 6. The main thing is that you don't want to lose too many units in the beginning, and you need to make sure that you can quickly push through the top here, and then either use Barvenkovo and the bridges to do this thing here, or use some of your units to move up that way. And then as long as you can place yourself close enough to Izium, you should be able to handle it. Now let's jump into the history mode. Welcome to the history mode. Now, unfortunately, for some reason, the history mode is not letting me go from turn 1, but it should work from turn 3, which is the part where that's kind of the most important, where I'll be able to show you how I sort of out of supplied them. So already at turn 4, you're going to notice that some of these units here are out of supply. This is not really Well, I guess it's due to this unit here that's somewhat blocking the supply, but mostly it's from the fact that these supply hubs, they just don't have the range on being able to hit them, to being able to go in that direction. You can see that these two have an area there and this one has an area there, and they just don't have that range. So this is something that will commonly happen, that the enemy will sort of out of supply themselves, but obviously you want to do more of this. You want to make sure that you out of supply them more. So I'm going to try to hit play and see if this works. Okay, it does. Great. So what I did here is I took some of my units and kept going at Stalingrad. You need to take it at turn 4. I took it at turn 3, but it's possible that they'll take it away from you again. So you want to make sure that you can always like place a stronger unit there. I didn't place the strongest one there. Now this is important. You want to move forward here and go forward. Now you notice that I have pioneers on this unit and also specialists, that recon specialist on my tank. This is important. You want to make sure that the units that are up top here are strong, so when you start the game you're going to have a lot of infantry steps and specialists in your HQ, so you want to make sure that the units up here are strong and are able to push through. So you can see that I'm up here at the moment. It's not really outsupplying the enemy. You have to push further because right now the supply is coming from the top. So I'm going to be able to move a little bit further, as you can see. Now at this point, again, you won't see much of an effect. Why? Well, because while I did stop the supply from the top, for example, these units out of supply, they're still getting the supply from here. So we need to block that as well. So that's going to be happen soon. I'm also trying to move towards here so that I could take over these supplies and also hurt Kupiansk. But you won't be able to do that this time. You just want to kind of get ready. Now, keep in mind that you need to keep Kharkov as well. So you want to make sure that you don't lose units. Now, what I just did is I had that card that allowed me to blow up a bridge from Berevenko, I believe it's called. Barvenkovo, sorry. So I used that to destroy this bridge. You can also destroy this bridge, which might be a better choice now that I think about it, but I just destroyed this one, so whatever. Now, if you look at this now, you're going to see that now all of them are out of supply. Now, especially these units towards the edge, they're already out of supply for a few turns from the fact that their supplies don't have the range. So they'll be very weak and you'll be able to do a lot of good damage, which is important. But the main thing is that these entire set of units are now out of supply. Now, also because I wasn't pushing that much in this direction, they moved some of their units away from here. So this will make it easier for us to push back up there to be able to take that over, because they can just rebuild the bridge. So you want to make sure that you do eventually move in that direction. Now, another thing you want to do here is you really want to make sure that you're pushing towards Izium, because you do need to take it next turn. And now what I'm just doing is I'm taking good odds. If I have 0, 1, 0, 2, I'm taking these shots. Make sure when you're using these 0, 1, 0, 2 attacks that you're checking for overrun, because sometimes you'll have a chance, like on this unit 10% of overrun, on this unit 30% of overrun. So you want to make sure that you use it in the right direction, the one that has a higher chance of overrun, so you might have a chance to hit multiple times. So as you see here, I'm starting to move towards this supply ravel because I wanna control it in case they rebuild the bridge. I want to make sure. See, so what they did right now, they rebuilt the bridge. So they would give themselves the supply back, not immediately this turn, but next turn. So you want to make sure that you don't let them do that. That you either step on that railway or break the bridge again if you have the cards for that. You don't want to let them do this, but unfortunately it happens, so whatever. I admit this is not my best run, okay guys, but we got all the objectives, so who cares? Alright, so now you do have to get Krasnograd, so I'm using my air attacks and then I'm using my attacks on Krasnograd. You might want to, in this case I could have moved around so I'm not attacking over water. I would have better odds, but the odds were good enough regardless, so it didn't really matter. But you could move around if you needed to. Right. As you can see, the odds are getting much more in my favor, and I'm able to attack them a lot easier. And I'm using some feint attacks to make sure I get good attacks on Izium, because again, because Izium is covered or surrounded by water in most directions, it's going to be a bit harder to hit. Alright, it's overrun and we got Izium. So at this point, as you're going to be able to see, we got all the objectives except the crash enemy offensive, which is automatically happened, don't worry about that, and Kupiansk by turn 6, and we need to hold everything we have, except Barvenkovo, but you're gonna hold up Barvenkovo because why not? So I don't know if you're holding it, but it doesn't matter because you don't need to hold it. So yeah, at this point, I forgot to point that out. I am now in control of this hex, which means that they remain out of supply, because while they fix the bridge, they can get the supply there from that turn. So on the next turn, they would be resupplying their own units, but I blocked them again, so they can't do that. So keep that in mind. I'm kind of pushing forward. You could also move back a little bit to make sure that your tanks are well supplied, which is what I did right now. But you could also push. And I kind of used this pioneer unit as a sort of way to keep blocking them. Again, you could have stepped back, gotten in a position of better protection, but I kind of went on like all in, I guess. But it's not necessary. Now at this point you can see they can't attack you. They're all suppressed, so you can just easily do a lot of damage. So just place your units appropriately, try to utilize those overruns and do as much damage as you can. Because you want to make sure that you level up your units where possible. And all we need to get is Kaplians. Yeah, so we're attacking Kupiansk. I seem to have said that wrong. I apologize. Wrong pronunciation. Now we're taking over the supply hubs and we are in control now. At this point, we should have all objectives complete. Okay, we're still waiting for the crash enemy offensive. But as they're very weak, as we're going to be hitting them, we're going to be able to get that eventually. And so in this case, you want to make sure that you're stepping on these sort of prisoners, these stagglers. Because that is what will make you fulfill this unit. So you want to make sure that you're stepping on this. I didn't really focus on it. It just kind of happens automatically as you sort of naturally play the game. But if you want to hurry, you want to step on all of these stagglers like this. And you're gaining the prisoners, and that is what will give you the points. And like I said, utilize the overruns where you can. And yeah, it should be pretty easy. We're almost there with the prisoners. Yeah, I think now we did it. Yeah, at this point all objectives are complete, and now we're just continuing hitting whatever we want, whatever we can. And because why not? What I try to do here is I try to sort of connect it up so I have a better supply for my own units, because for example this unit is completely out of supply. This is something you probably should worry about a bit more, but doesn't really matter. And we won on turn 5, so we want to turn early. But, well, at the end of turn 5, I should say. Yeah. Alright, so this is it. I hope you enjoyed this guide. If you did, run in the comments. Let me know if you'd like to see the guide for the next mission. Alright, I'll see you there. Bye bye.